In this video we're going to make a sort of pulsing video, a rotating video, and I'm going to work with the motion controls again. So I've made a smaller banner. This is 250 by 250, and what I would recommend is actually, if you're going to do something like this and it's going to change in size, then my suggestion would be make your original shape as large as you can to start with, and then scale it down later on. The reason being, because we're working at such low resolution, you want to start off with a lot of pixels. If I make an object this size and then I'm going to increase the scale of it at some point or other, then you're going to, and especially when it's moving, if you can just see there, it's going to actually give me some step effects around the bitmap object. So just be careful when you're making it. I'm just going to leave it as it is, but my recommendation would be, you're going to use a shape, fill it with pixels, put it on its own fresh layer, and make it the size you want it to be at its largest without actually going over the edge. Okay, so just make it as big as you can. So having said that, now what I'm doing is I'm just shrinking them down. They're going to start off small, and we're going to align them all together. So I'm going to grab all of these shapes and just use the align tools to align them all together, and then we'll just put them in the middle. So I've organized my layers, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with the rectangle first of all, and I'm going to put on it rotate, and I don't want it to resize. So really all I'm doing is I'm changing again the position in the timeline. Remember, it used to say position and it now says transform. So it's going to let me move it. What I actually want to do as well, so I'm just going to go backwards, and I think it's a little bit long. I just really need a sort of 1 second or some other video. So we really want to have changes happening over the course of maybe 1 to 2 seconds. So we'll just make them all equally the same length. And let's put that motion back on. So I'll put on rotate, and you can go clockwise or anti-clockwise, undo resize, and then again you get keyframes either side and it sort of skews a little bit. I'm just going to tell it what I want it to do, so I'm going to pick it up, and on the last keyframe I'm going to have it move through a quarter motion. With a perfect square, it doesn't need to go through the full motion, because it's perfect and every corner should meet the same point. So in fact, I should be able to have it appear to turn through the full square by only turning 25%. And when you are turning, as you work on the last keyframe, you don't make it absolutely perfectly match, because then you'll have a pause. So if I rotate it through 25%, 360, but if I go the full way, it means it's going to sit for a nanosecond and you'll get a tiny pause. So you don't pull it the whole way around. You let it go just before you hit the next section. So that's that. I could also make it change size as well. Maybe I'll come back and do that. But what I want to do with these ones is I want to zoom. Again, I'm going to undo this, so I'm going to control them perfectly myself. And again, we're going to start from one position and we're just going to let it pulse. So I think what I'll do is I'll just, on that position, I'm just going to flood the screen. So now my animation looks something like this. So I want you to notice the actual poor quality of the animation because I started with a tiny object. Okay, I've added another one down here, and I'm gonna, let's bring this, we'll get rid of the titchy tiny one. Bring this one, which I've made bigger. I'm going to go the opposite way this time. So I'm going to ask it to zoom. And I'm going to undo resize. And again, change the physical scale on the last keyframe. And you can kind of see, if I play them both together, you can see the difference in quality. So just the image that I draw, if I conceive of it as filling the actual frame, we can get a more graceful GIF. If I start off small, I get very, very poor quality. It's kind of working slowly at the moment. So in fact, I want to speed it up. I'm going to shrink it down. Or I could change the frames per second rate, the FPS here, but I don't really want to speed it up that way. So here we can make it go faster, or even faster, just simply by shrinking the timeline. And the more layers and shapes that you add, the more control you have over your objects, the more complex it can get. It's not the easiest method to do this. I'm going to show you a much more sophisticated way to control things next term, and we'll use a different software for that. But Photoshop does allow you just some basic animation techniques, and if it's just moving shapes around for a web banner, it's perfectly adequate. You know, you can add in text and you can add in your objects, your chocolate bars, your drinks, and so on, and get quite creative with that. But if you wanted to make really highly complicated patterning, I'm going to show you much better ways to do it next term.